Chinese have completely grind the imports to a halt in August. We expect also very low imports of US crude oil into China next month.
Imagine this. China's oil imports from the US have screeched to a halt, like a tanker slamming on the brakes. By August 2025, they went from snapping up 160,000 barrels a day to barely a trickle. No press conference, no fiery tweets, just a quiet 10% tariff from Beijing, and poof, American crude vanished from their radar. While China's busy inking deals with Russia and Iran, the guy in the White House is still shouting about trade wars like it's a rerun of 2018. Down in Texas, ports are gathering dust. Pipelines are moving at a snail's pace, and the self-proclaimed dealmaker is too caught up bickering over Canadian lumber or wind farms to notice. He calls it strategy, the world calls it getting ghosted. The planet's top oil buyer just walked away, and America's left holding the bag, outplayed by its own playbook. Not long ago, those 160,000 barrels a day from the US to China kept things humming. It wasn't the biggest flow, but it was enough to justify pouring billions into Gulf Coast docks, pipelines, tankers lined up like cabs at a busy airport. Places like Houston and Corpus Christi were buzzing, built to feed Asia's appetite. Then, come February 2025, China drops a 10% tariff and the orders just stop. No bans, no big announcements, just a deafening quiet. Those bustling terminals are now half empty, with storage tanks sitting idle and pipelines pumping to nowhere. It's not sabotage, it's a calculated pivot. China didn't just say no thanks, they rewired their whole system to run without us. Meanwhile, the commander-in-chief's out there, railing on social media about wind turbines and trade winds, missing the fact that his big plan's gone sour faster than forgotten milk. But China's not the only one sidestepping the US. Our neighbors, Canada and Mexico, are teaming up on something called the Northern Corridor, a billion-dollar trade route that skips American ports entirely. We're talking $120 billion in yearly trade now flowing through their own Pacific and Atlantic lanes. No stars and stripes required. The message is clear. Why deal with a middleman who's tossing up tariffs like confetti? The US used to be the go-to hub, the reliable pit stop for global trade. Now, our closest allies are linking up and tiptoeing around the guy yelling about renegotiating every deal. Nobody's slamming doors. They're just not bothering to knock anymore. This isn't just losing a customer, it's watching your reputation as a steady partner fray at the edges. And the kicker? The White House is too busy shouting into the void to notice the rooms already cleared out. So, what's China up to while America's left staring at empty docks? They didn't hit pause, they hit fast forward. By mid-2025, Beijing's locked in bigger contracts with Russia, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Iran. We're talking massive volumes, cutthroat prices, and not a single US dollar in sight. These deals are sealed in yuan, China's home currency, kicking the greenback to the curb. This wasn't a knee-jerk move, it's a full-on overhaul. Ports, pipelines, tanker schedules, even refinery setups are now tuned for Middle Eastern and Russian blends, not American crude. It's like they swapped out their entire operating system and tossed the old manual. Even if the US slashed prices to rock bottom, China's setup isn't built for our oil anymore. It's not just politics, it's logistics. Different ports, different pipes, different game. Trying to wedge American crude back in now would be like jamming a VHS tape into a streaming app and bragging you invented the internet. This goes way beyond oil barrels. When China flipped the switch, they didn't just redirect crude, they rerouted power. By July 2025, most of their oil deals with Russia, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE were priced in yuan, not dollars. That's not just a technicality. It's a slow bleed on America's financial clout. Every yuan-priced barrel is one less that needs US banks, one less that bows to US sanctions or trade rules. It's a deliberate cut, designed to sideline Washington's leverage. And while this was unfolding, what's the White House doing? Calling the yuan funny money at a rally and picking fights over lumber prices. The rest of the world? They're calling it the new normal. The dollar used to be the lifeblood of global energy. Now, it's just one option, and not the hot pick. Then there's Iran, slipping in through the back door while America's distracted. Their shadow fleet tankers flying fake flags with dodgy paperwork has been pumping millions of barrels into China's smaller, scrappy refiners, the so-called teapots. These outfits don't care if the oil's labeled crude or contraband, as long as it's cheap and off the dollar grid. By mid-2025, Iran's sneaking in 1.7 million barrels a day to China, 10 times what the US used to send. Think about that. The US tries to box out Iran with sanctions. Iran sidesteps us. China rolls out the welcome mat. And the only thing Washington's big trade game did was make America a bystander in its own arena. It's like Iran grabbed all the chips while the US was still bragging about the last hand. Back on the Gulf Coast, those shiny export terminals are turning into ghost towns. Corpus Christi and Houston built their docks dreaming of China's endless demand, but now they're running way below capacity. Billions went into pipelines and storage to ride the energy dominance wave. But when the world's top buyer changes the channel, you're left with the world's priciest yard art. Sure, US exporters are scrambling to redirect barrels to Europe, India, or South America, but let's not kid ourselves. Nobody fills China's shoes. Not in volume, not in cash, not in sway. This isn't a hiccup, it's a business model crumbling under the weight of pride and bad bets. Tariffs aren't a magic spice dump too much, and you ruin the dish. While America's ports sit quiet, China's been stacking barrels like nobody's business. By mid-2025, their strategic oil reserves could cover over 3 months of imports, way above the global benchmark. Russia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, they're the ones filling those tanks, not exactly Team USA's biggest fans. This isn't just about prepping for a rainy day, it's a flex. With full reserves and yuan-based deals, China can haggle prices, shrug off market jolts, and tune out US pressure without missing a beat. Meanwhile, Congress is still hemming and hawing over whether to top off our own reserves, assuming anyone remembers where the keys are. The White House keeps selling, mission accomplished, trade war edition, but the world's already flipped to a new script. This ripple's gone global, and it's picking up speed. India's now cozying up to Russia, locking in cheap crude with yuan settlements, and dusting off old Soviet shipping routes to dodge choke points like the Strait of Hormuz. Southeast Asia, think Malaysia to Thailand, is tweaking its oil buys to mirror China's, favoring suppliers who don't demand dollars. Even Europe, still grabbing some US crude, is playing hardball, using the new competition to squeeze discounts and looser terms. This isn't a blip, it's a rewrite of the whole energy game. Pricing, alliances, shipping lanes. They're all shifting, and the US isn't calling the shots anymore. The guy who swore he'd make energy so dominant it'd make your head spin, he's still spinning, firing off posts about respect while the world signs deals without us. It's not just about oil, it's about who holds the reins. Power doesn't vanish in a blaze. It slips away in silence when folks stop needing you. China didn't kick the US to the curb, they just built a new setup with no slot for us. No grand exit, no fiery clash, just a world that rearranged itself. While America was busy tossing culture war grenades and shadowboxing on TV, even Canada, our next-door partner sharing the world's longest border, is quietly steering oil to Asia and Europe, citing trade instability from, you guessed it, more US tariffs. Reuters flagged that move in July 2025, and it stings. Nobody's storming off, they're just walking away. So here's the tally. China bailed, Iran stepped up, India pivoted, Europe bargained. This wasn't a takeover, it was a fade out. No one asked if we'd be okay without them. The real question now is, what happens when the world gets comfy without us? The answer won't scream from headlines. It'll creep in through quiet docs, contracts inked without our signature, and a global game we're no longer refereeing. Tell me, what's your take? Can America get back in the driver's seat? Or did we just get left at the station? Drop your thoughts below and hit subscribe so you don't miss the next time someone taxes trust and calls it a win.